morning. Hope everybody's doing well. Our attendance this morning is no doubt indicative of the craziness that has ensued now that we're all back in competition and sanitization and signage and mask policing and everything else. So thank you for taking the time to be with us today. We're not going to be anywhere near our timing that we normally are for our WSSAAA Wednesdays, but nonetheless excited for a few updates from Dave Tikker from the WIAA, and just kind of looking forward to what's to come these next few weeks. So I will not talk anymore. Dave, why don't you take it away for us?
Thanks, Cole. First thing I want to do is introduce one of WSSAA's new corporate partners and BSN Sports, and Travis Anderson is here from BSN. A lot of you probably know Travis. You work with Travis. Travis came on last year and was going to sponsor the golf tournament until we had to cancel it. And Travis and BSN are going to be a great partner, and looking forward to working with them for years to come. They're going to work with the golf tournament as well as provide apparel for our conference. And my guess is probably other things too as we move forward. So Travis, thanks for being here. Why don't you talk a little bit about BSN?
Thank you, Dave. Good morning, everyone. I appreciate your time to be here. My name's Travis Anderson. I'm a sales manager here with BSN Sports out of our Spokane office. I've also invited one of our other sales managers, Brian Dreves. He's on the call as well. But we'd like to start just by letting you know how much we admire and respect all that you all are doing to make sports happen in the state of Washington. It's not lost on us just what kind of a project that has been. Just in talking to a lot of you, and we've got several sales guys who work for us that also coach at the high school level, and what you all are accomplishing right now is nothing short of remarkable. So our hats go off to you guys. We wanted to talk real quickly about three things that we think can add value for you and your coaches, not necessarily product related, but more service related. When you think of BSN Sports or Team Sporting Goods, you think about uniforms and equipment. But we've got three things we wanted to quickly go through that we're seeing a lot of success with. Dave, can you confirm you can see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, great. So the first thing is coaching clinics and webinars. In 2018, we started facilitating in-person webinars with experts in their respective sports for coaches, totally free, just education-based service that we could offer. And in 2020, obviously with COVID, we pivoted to doing online just like everyone else. But even so, we hosted over 100 of these and had 65,000 coaches attend these over the last year. And as you can see from some of the presenters we've had, these are absolute rock stars in their respective sports. Tubby Smith, Nancy Lieberman, NFL head coaches, these guys captivate an audience. So we would love the opportunity to offer that to you and your coaches where you see fit. I'll make sure I push out this info to Dave and he can forward it to you all, but we've got several months scheduled out right now with several clinics we think could add a lot of value to you guys. The next thing I want to go through is, my screen will change, is logo development, T-Mart Locker. And I owe Russ Waterman a beer because I didn't let him know I was going to be borrowing his before this morning. But T-Mart Locker is a live online platform where we host your logos over thousands of templates. The goal here is to save you and your coaches time when it comes to developing artwork and seeing what it would look like on products. That doesn't mean we don't do custom artwork. Of course we do that, but the goal here is to minimize the all too well-known back and forth of art approvals and revisions, and to help out with that. The other component here is logo development. Obviously, there is a massive narrative out there about potentially offensive mascots. You guys have all seen the bill that's in the state of Washington to ban Native American mascots. We have an entire team dedicated to helping schools develop new marks and implement those logos and branding guides throughout their school. We would love the opportunity to partner with you guys on this if this is something that makes sense for you. And the last thing is campus branding. Obviously, with kids just now getting back on campus, and fall of 21 will be huge. There has been no better time to implement school spirit. And obviously, you think of jocks and socks with Team Sporting Goods, but we do a ton of avenue banners, media backdrops, custom window decals, things like that that can really enhance the image of your campus. And so again, we've got lots of info on this. We'd love to share it if it's something that interests you. Ultimately, it's great to be a big company and have these type of resources, but we know that it comes down to us earning your business with our 35 sales reps in the state of Washington. So our ask would be, we know that you've got a lot of other relationships out there with team dealers. We just love the opportunity to earn your business, sit down with your coaches, and work with you guys. Brian, I don't know if you have anything you want to add to that.
No, that was said very well. It's just a true honor to be able to work with all of the schools, the ADs, provide solutions for everybody. I mean, what you guys are doing in the state of Washington is awesome. And seeing all the athletes be able to play games last weekend was pretty incredible. It'll be nice when we get to actually go out and watch them as well. So thank you very much for all of, everything you guys do.
Dave, anything else you want to cover? Any questions?
Travis, just maybe your contact information. Why don't you put your contact information in the chat?
Yep, absolutely.
And we're going to send out Travis and I are going to work together and send out a email blast just to let everybody know of our partnership and the things that Travis talked about and what they offer. And thanks, Travis.
Thank you all. We really appreciate your time. You guys have a great day.
Yeah, I'm going to speak about our conference and maybe a couple other things this morning. Before I do, I can, as most of you can see, I've got my Titleist hat on. Now, that's assuming that, when you wear something like that, that you're a golfer. Now, I like to think of myself as a golfer, but I'm just fairly average. And Andy and Mick, I know that this probably won't fit into your schedule, but I have tee times Thursday and Friday at the Lewiston Country Club. You're welcome to join us if you like. So just thought I'd share that with you. Let's talk a little bit about our state conference. So it's June 23rd through the 26th at the Three Rivers Convention Center in Kennewick. After the governor's announcement yesterday about the vaccine, I'm even more optimistic for an in-person conference. I truly believe it'll be a joyful celebration of your perseverance and loyalty to your communities and your programs, as well as a chance to network and enjoy in person, I repeat, in person professional growth. We have our registration right now is on our WSSAAA website. We are bringing back the golf tournament. BSN is going to be sponsoring that, and we'll have the golf tournament and some wine tasting on Wednesday, as well as some LTI classes. All of that information is on the registration page. We're also going to invite other states in our section to attend the conference if they would like. We will be hosting the NIAAA section meeting immediately following the conference on Saturday, June 26th. And we will have attendees from Wyoming, Montana, hopefully Alaska, Idaho, and Oregon. I do not think that any of them are going to be able to have an in-person conference. So we will extend the invite, and hopefully we can get some ADs that would like to join us. And I know since we've changed the date from April to June, the end of the school year for many of you signals a break, and all of the work and effort and time that you've put in. I know that a lot of times you also think, well, now I get some time off, and well-deserved. But I just want to encourage you to attend the conference in June if you can. I truly believe that the conference provides a booster shot of purpose for all ADs, and it promotes and reinforces education-based athletics. As educators in the athletic arena, we all have a calling to use our influence to promote strong programs, knowing that our future lies in the hands of these young men and women, and the lessons learned by what our programs teach will be instrumental in the shaping of our country's future. The conference allows us as athletic administrators to experience as colleagues the power of we. And very few entities teach the power of we anymore. What we teach kids in the athletic arena and what we learn from each other transcends politics, race, and any other differences many people seem to dwell on. What we dwell on is working together to make a difference. That's what we dwell on. Now, a lot of you know I have 3 daughters. I know there's a special place in heaven for me raising 3 girls. My youngest, Kelly, is going to have my 6th grandson probably within a week. His name is going to be Mays Johnson, M-A-Y-S Johnson, after the Say Hey Kid, Willie Mays. Her first son's named Koufax Johnson, after Sandy Koufax. Her husband's the head basketball coach at LC State, who could be at nationals when the baby is born, or possibly right after the baby is born. And that's where Cindy and I step in, just like many of you have done for your families. I got to tell you, holding that newborn in my hands, I never get tired of experiencing the miracle of the birth of a child, especially my grandsons. You have a number of student athletes that you will continue to come alongside of and be their support system. Your sphere of influence never goes away. Your leadership pays unbelievable dividends as your students go through your programs. Now, sometimes it's easier to be overwhelmed with the many obstacles in your path, but that's what life is sometimes. How we proceed forward, how we model perseverance and the value of what we do. Our communities will pick up on your energy and your leadership. It hasn't been easy, but the end result of having student athletes in the arena again is a testament to your efforts. Well done, everybody. Well done. Looking forward to seeing all of you in June. I really hope you can make it. I think it would be a joyous celebration. The first adult beverage is on Joe Keller because I still have his credit card number. So Joe, thanks for that. Appreciate all you do. Looking forward to seeing you face to face soon.
Thanks, Dave. I think I couldn't agree more with the fact that it's going to be much of a exhale and weight off the shoulders in June, and we get to hang out and be colleagues again and not be running around with our chickens like like chickens with our heads cut off. So appreciate the update and looking forward to it. And we're going to start building the breakouts here soon. If any of you have any breakouts you'd like to see from any of your colleagues, please shoot me an email so that I can start reaching out and plugging those into our conference schedule. BJ, why don't you take it from the WI standpoint?
Yeah, thanks. Good morning, everyone. We had kind of 2 things on the agenda today from the WI standpoint. One of them is a brief review of amendments 3 and 4. So one of our goals with WSSAAA Wednesday is just to do 2 amendments each time we meet, just to make sure there's an opportunity for discussion if people would like to do so. And we've already done 1 and 2. So today we'll do 3 and 4. Cindy will lead that discussion here in just a minute. And then Mick will give us some updates on things going on all WIAA and opportunities for Q&A as needed. So it shouldn't take too long. Without further ado, I'm going to share my screen and get amendment number 3 up. And our staff will work with Cindy on presenting amendment 3. I'm assuming you're going to want me to help with this, Cindy. So go ahead.
Actually, well, I think you should probably do it since you.
Okay, I'll be happy to sort of lead this gender identity amendment number 3 information. I think the biggest thing I just would want to share is this is part 2 of some gender identity work that was done. As you guys remember, a year ago, there was some time spent updating just basic language to be more inclusive and more up to date and in tune with what's going on around the nation in gender identity. And this amendment is really around when you as an athletic director are trying to find out the eligibility of a student athlete. Previously, when you would determine a gender identity student to be eligible, a member school could question that determination, and then that would result in a student having to have a hearing to basically justify their gender identity in front of a committee. Instead, the way that this new amendment would play out is if a school feels like it really leaves the eligibility determination on the shoulders of an athletic director, which is consistent with all other eligibility practices. And if you were to determine the student to be ineligible, then the WIAA would step in and help with a committee to review that. But otherwise, your determination of eligibility is what would go forward. And if a school were to question that, they would use the same process you would use if you question that any school has broken a rule within our handbook. They would do a rule violation process. So this is, that's really what the guts of this is all about. It takes out this appeal process that was here in the past and really leaves it up to the athletic director to make the determination. What happens if you determine a student to be ineligible? And it removes that one school can force a hearing for another school. So that's really the guts of it. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer those. Or Justin, if you have anything you want to add, feel free to do so. I don't know if Stacy's on the call or Jeff. So feel free to just chime in if there's something that I missed or something you want to add.
BJ, this is Jeff Lowell.
Yeah.
The only other thing that I would like to make sure that we remind folks is that one of the reviews of this particular amendment proposal was done through the lens of what is currently in state law, and to make sure that we're actually bringing WI rules into alignment and make sure we're in alignment with those state laws. And the belief of the Gender Identity Committee is that this proposed amendment would actually reduce exposure for any potential discrimination suit, because it ends up providing then one eligibility process for all students rather than having a separate eligibility process for a very specific group of students. So just really as you're looking at this and you're talking to your voters in your area of the state. If you have questions about it, Stacy's on the call right now too. You can always call Stacy Ward. You can call me. You can call BJ. And we're happy to talk to those voters a little bit more about this.
And Russ Waterman also sat on the committee, so he's a good
Very
resource.
true. Yes, Russ as well.
Justin or Stacy, or any questions in the chat? I can't see the chat, so. Hearing none. Cindy,
Nothing in there, BJ. Sorry.
Okay. Cindy, I'll pass on to Amendment 4 to you.
Okay, amendment number 4 would allow the 1B schools and the smaller 2B schools to be able to utilize 8th graders in their high school program that are either from a WIAA or a non-WIAA member feeder school based on some very specific situations. Either the program is not available at the middle level or their participation numbers are at or below the minimums that are listed there, and league approval is required in all cases. I will say that based on some questions that came up during an earlier WSSAAA Wednesday meeting, we did have the WIAA Executive Board approve an editorial change to add the definition of a feeder middle school junior high in this section in Article 18.20. It has always been in the out of season portion in the handbook, but now it is also in here. So it specifies what students are considered to be in a feeder school that leading to that high school. So any questions or concerns about this one?
Hey, Cindy,
That also includes the 1As. Where's the 1As coming on that, Cindy?
There is, that's an amendment that's later in here. I believe it's number 6.
Okay.
That would open that provision for 1A schools. That amendment was submitted last year. It did get some support, but did not pass. The Caribou Trail League requested an experiment that would allow them 1A schools to utilize that same rule based on league support. The board did approve that for this school year. So if there are schools interested in it, it's not a school by school decision. Your league has to approve the experiment. And the caveat in that is that if an 8th grader is used on a varsity team, that team would not be eligible for postseason play. And I will clarify that during this year, that means any postseason play beyond your league culminating event.
Okay.
If your league has approved it for league play, then it's okay for your league event as well.
So the only thing I need to get is just get approval from league. I don't need to contact the WIAA.
Well, I need to be notified because I report to the board which leagues are utilizing it. So you do need to get approval from your league, and it should really be contacted by the league president or the spokesperson for the league acknowledging their approval. And I will say that several of the leagues that are utilizing that experiment are placing some additional restrictions, which they are allowed to do. So it's important that you talk that through with the league.
Okay. Yeah, the league has approved it. Okay, so just let you know, or the league let you know that we're having 8th graders participate in softball primarily.
Yeah.
Okay, okay, thanks.
Cindy,
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
no, go ahead.
I was just gonna ask Cindy, is the CTL the only league that is doing that this year?
No, SCAC.
No, there are, just a minute, let me pull that up. There are about 5 of them, and I just got a notice of one more yesterday. So there are a number of them that turned in their requests just in the last week. Now that things are resuming and they're checking on their actual number of participants. So there are, I believe there are 5, maybe 6 leagues now that have approved it.
Hey, Cindy, this is John. You and I already had a conversation about this, but I just kind of wanted to ask the question. On the rule 18.20.1, it says high schools. And my understanding from our conversation is that really is only referring to 1B and 2B schools. Am I correct in that understanding?
That's correct.
Yeah, and I guess my suggestion would be that perhaps you might consider where it says high schools, you might just put in 1B and 2B high schools to kind of clarify that. So I'm just kind of sharing that with you again, and I just wanted to make sure I understood it. Thank you.
Anything else on amendment 3 or 4 that anybody wants to chat about? Hearing none, I will hand it over to Mick to kind of give us an update on things going on. And don't hesitate, if you have any questions for the staff, throw those in the chat, or when Mick gets done, we're happy to answer those as needed.
Just a few quick updates. One is there's a bill going through, Senate Bill 5265, regarding a bridge year, which allows students, it's almost out of the Senate at this point, and headed to the House. It has a high probability of passing and being signed. And what it does is it allows students, even if they've met all graduation requirements, to they can walk at graduation, but not receive their diploma. And it allows them to come back for a 5th year, either for college in the classroom or community college as a high school student. Originally, the proposed bill said that we would be requested to waive our consecutive seasons. That's now been changed that we will need to notify any bridge year students of the appeal process. So if in fact this does pass and gets through out of the Senate into the House, and then Inslee signs it in, we'll be coming to you with some information, a document to put in whatever your school districts utilize. So we're going to be required by law to notify them of the appeal process. It does not guarantee a 5th year though. So we just want to make sure people understand. We've met with Senator Hunt a couple times to have that discussion. His intent is not to automatically allow a 5th year. His intent is if students do have a hardship, he wants to honor the rules as written. So they made the adjustment. So if you hear anything on that, don't panic. That's where we're at right now. Again, it could be amended somewhere else in the process, but at this point, we're comfortable with how it's been amended. The other piece is just within your districts. We're hearing that with the federal funds coming in, it's going to be one-time money hitting your schools either this spring or next fall. So making sure you're in the conversation as far as helping to maybe mitigate some of the impact of 1660. It's one-time funds, so it's not going to be an ongoing a funding source. But if there are some significant ASB costs you're having to look at, you may want to have that conversation within your district. Our understanding is it's a significant amount of money each school district will have available to them. There's going to be a lot of people trying to get to it. We just want to make all of you aware that it is coming either this spring or next fall, depending on your district's in-person plans, and to at least raise the question internally. Second, esports. So we have, Justin has done an amazing job of negotiating a contract with attorneys, the language. We're at the point we believe we're going to bring it to our board for approval. We are still finalizing some of the business side of it with the entities that be. We're anticipating that being wrapped up this month. We are hoping to already be there. But once we have the agreement on costs, et cetera, we will have that ready. We're also hoping to provide a low cost, no cost option as an introductory to esports this spring. So that's the plan right now. That's the piece we're finalizing with them. Once we have that and the board takes a look at it, and if they approve, we'll have some information out. So ideally you'll see that by end of March. Third issue is the arbiter scheduling program. So we want to make sure if you have specific issues with arbiter, please don't hesitate to let us know. You can let me know directly, Andy Knapp or Casey Johnson. An example was we had heard about the C squad designation was creating a lot of angst. My understanding is the last review or the last software update that was just pushed out, I think at last week, has that resolved. We're working on getting the team scheduler process tweaked, similar to how people were able to use it in WPA. So they're working on some modifications for that. We anticipate that being anytime this spring. What we're hearing a lot about is not being able to display it the way you want. And so we just want people to understand that is not an arbiter issue. That's a website issue. So we don't work with those website companies, but we are in conversations with them about them possibly being providers for the state as well. So we're having ongoing conversations. So when I spoke with Mark Martin yesterday, I asked him, hey, what's going on? Is there anything we can do to help? And essentially what he told me is, especially with VNN, their API is geared up to ingest school by school. And they got so many schools that their API can't work fast enough to sync it all up. And so that's an issue that they're working on their side. The other piece is they weren't geared up. My understanding is they're not geared up to import individual sports. And so they're working as fast as they can to address that. And so he told me their workaround right now is for leagues are using WPA's website and then pushing it. When you click on an individual school, it'll take you to your VNN page. So they're trying to do some workarounds. Again, we just want to be clear that that's not something Arbiter can help with, because we've already opened the API, and in most situations around the country, Arbiter or the state charge those website companies per school for access to that data. And we're not doing that. We're just said, hey, it's yours. You just got to be able to run with it. Mark had it set up over the summer with WPA. Once he sold and people moved to VNN, I don't know if people tested it or not, but or something happened after it was tested, but Mark's geared up for it with the API. VNN, I know, is working on it. So, and we've met with them a few times. You know, they're good people. They're working hard at it. It's just that they're trying to get their technology synced up. So if there are specific things with scheduling, even just little things that you want, you can let us know. I'm not going to guarantee that we can get them changed in the software, but we at least want to know so we can have the conversation to find out if in fact it's there. So yeah, I would agree. It was beautiful. WPA, got to talk to Mark why he sold. And you know, that's what we're trying to develop, a system. We're not dependent on any one outside entity of people we can't sell. So, you know, Mark's retired, he's got a new job, and he sold his company. So we're trying not to build a statewide system on a similar process. Luckily, Mark is still in the picture. He understands what ADs want, and he's working with VNN. So we have great faith they're going to work it out. It's just, going to be a little clunky in the middle, and on top of just having to learn new software. So we understand that really sucks, whether it's good software or not. So let us know. We'll keep grinding on it, and we'll do that. So yeah, let's see. Somebody wants WPA back. Hey, if you can get Mark out of retirement and restart that company and take back his sale, good for all of us. That was our plan. That Mark was going to be that website backbone, since 90-some% of you were using him. Again, he sold, and we have to deal with the repercussions of that. So we're trying to help VNN as much as possible with the transition of them coming into the state. The other thing is for those of you that obviously are in education, with Biden putting out the directive yesterday and Inslee jumping on it immediately, there are vaccines available. I'll give, my wife is a teacher, our daughter-in-law is a teacher, and our son is a finance guy for an ESD. They all got on their kp.org app last night. All three of them have scheduled shots this weekend. And so if you have a provider, right, it's just an FYI, if you're interested in getting the vaccine, make a call quick, because we know that this is happening really quick. They haven't even been able to get a call back from any of the websites they've been on. And in 5 minutes, all three of them got from their providers. So however the process for getting vaccines, as clunky as it is, it seems that this is causing it to fast track, at least for educators. So just as an FYI, the last thing I have a request, and I really want, would we hire Mark? We'd love to. We just would have to raise your dues so much that to afford him, based on what he's getting from VNN. So if you guys want, if everybody wants to pass the hat, we actually considered all that, because our concern was Mark selling out, what that would do in there. And yeah, the inappropriate ads, we're trying to work on all that. We're working on a long-term solution. So I guess the only caution we would have is don't get locked into a long-term contract that's going to cost you a lot to get out. We're continuing some of the processes we had. Our first goal was to have a scheduler, and I will say again publicly, Mark has twice looked at it and told me that he believes that Arbiter is a better system than even what he had as far as scheduling. Now the website, totally different issue. We are working on that one. And so there's just features we know aren't in Arbiter scheduling, like the automatic emails and that we are going to continue to ask for. So if I'll try to pull these out of the chat, but if you email me, I'll definitely have them, because then we'll go right to the source. I want to piggyback on what Dave said so well at the start. I have a request, a plea for all of you. Thursday night, I was forwarded an newspaper article from the governor's office talking about the football games being canceled due to COVID related issues. So we scrambled, got the information, right? And on Friday, when we met with that same individual from the governor's office and the Department of Health, that topic came up, and we said, hey, look, that's an example of how well schools do this. We're being ultra cautious. We're going to do it right. We're rule followers. And I said, and it's not because people aren't wearing masks. If people aren't wearing masks, we know there'll be repercussions. And his response was very direct. Oh, if people don't wear masks, there will be consequences. Trust me. No holding back, right? That's not just going to be for the schools that are choosing not to do this. So my request is this: please, no matter what your personal belief on masks are, no matter what your politics are, help us out, because we have people out there who don't believe we should be playing right now. They're taking photos off social media. They're taking photos at games. They're sending them directly to the governor's office. They're sending them directly to the Department of Health. They're sending them to media outlets. I spent all day, well, not all day, most of Saturday dealing with this, part of Sunday, all day Monday, right? A lot of yesterday, just reaching out to schools that we were getting reports on to ask, because here's what's going to happen. They're going to shut us down. It's not just going to be the schools that they get the picture on. They're going to think back for the last year. Our complaint has been everything is out of our control. All of it was out of our control. All we want to do is play. We finally have something in our control. And no matter how miserable it is playing with a mask on, if that's the only way they're going to let us play, then we need help with that. I will also tell you then, when we assured them, we will continue to work with the membership. We will get this done. They then started the discussion about possibly expanding the number of spectators. And they broached the subject of high-risk indoor sports. And if we're willing to wear masks, could we play basketball, potentially do wrestling, cheer and dance in the spring? But I'm telling you, if they continue to get inundated with examples of it not being done, we can't defend it anymore. So we need your help. We've had people say, well, turn it over to the officials. That's our Hail Mary. That's what we're doing at the end, because the only way that will work, it's going to cause an incredible amount of conflict and contests, right? We know that. It's also going to bring a lot of publicity and notoriety to the issue, because people are going to be running in and out. Because the only way we can do it is tell the officials, if you see a nose or you see a lip, send the kid off. It doesn't matter how it happened. And it really will take, we can't expect it to be common sense in so many places all over the place. So here's what we do know. We know if a kid respects his or her coach, they'll listen to the coach. And we know your coaches, if they respect their AD, will listen to you. So we're just asking you to please go back and be strong with your messaging on this. This can't be the wink, wink, do your best. This has to happen. We were essentially put on notice on Friday, and it would be a travesty for us to lose what we have going right now, right? It's not Texas, it's not Mississippi where they're throwing out the rules. We're not going to have that happen in Washington. And then to lose opportunity coming in the spring with the amount of parents that we're getting inundated with wanting to see their kids play, with kids waiting to do wrestling, basketball, cheer, and dance. Please help us out. All right. Use exert your influence and your leadership, right? The best leaders we have in schools are our coaches and ADs, and we need your help on this. So please, whatever you can do to get that message driven through your system would be greatly appreciated. So thanks.
Mick, can I jump in here real quick?
Please.
Just to reiterate what you were talking about. There's just as many people. I mean, you have parents and you have people that are excited about this coming back, and the kids are excited, but there's just as many people on the other side that are looking for an opportunity to discount what we do, and actually being strategic about being visible and looking for a picture to take, looking for a mask that's down. There's a lot of people out there. We just can't give them a reason. We can't give them a forum based on what we're not doing right. So again, just encouraging what Mick said. We have got to take the high road, and whether what our personal opinions are or not, it's just too good right now to have kids back in our programs to keep that from happening. There's just a lot of naysayers out there still that are trying really hard to make this look like it, make this look bad. So let's not give them a reason for that.
And I would say it's not just WIAA staff. I mean, we've been advocating, but what we're hearing schools are having to go through to host events, to transport kids. You've worked your tails off to get to this point. We're so close to the finish line. So let's sprint through the finish line rather than coast into the finish line and hope that we hold our spot, right? We can do this. I mean, we've persevered for a year. I mean, you think about it, it's almost a year to the day that we got shut down. We're so close. Like we got to finish. We just got to get it done. So anything you can do would be greatly appreciated.
All right. Is there anything else for the good of the order? Appreciate you, Mick, and thank you for all the work that you're doing continually on behalf of all of us. So that is about the extent of our agenda today, you guys. So if there
I
is
think there
nothing
might be, I just wanted to make sure with staff, is there any other frequently asked questions that are popping in that we want to just mention to the group? Andy, did you have something to share?
Yeah, BJ, there was a few questions that have been coming in because of the public golf guidelines. We did ask the Department of Health and Governor's Office on Friday, do you have to wear masks during golf matches? And the answer is yes. They are recommended that we follow all WI guidelines from that end and not the public golf guidelines. So make sure kids are wearing masks when they're playing in the golf matches, if you're doing that now or later in the spring. And if there are any updates to that, we will make sure they get posted on the COVID page.
Thanks, Andy. Cindy or Justin, anything that's kind of a frequently asked question that you want to mention to the group?
Looks like Eric just dropped in a track and field. So track and field, I submitted, I worked with the Track and Field Coaches Association on some protocols that we feel like, ways that we can do things safely and allow kids to drop masks in certain events. And so we've submitted those protocols and updates to the governor's office and the DOH. I don't know if we'll hear anything at the meeting this Friday, but we'll ask the question about it to see if they've reviewed them. We'll continue to work on it, but they have been submitted.
Justin, one of the questions that I have too is also with some of our numbers being pretty high in our communities, how do we do I can get to 200 pretty quick with a dual meet and people that need to run events as well. So I was wondering if there was any movement on the number of 200 and what kind of recommendations you might have for any of us that are going to potentially run into that issue with numbers.
Yeah, I think like Mick said with the 200 number, that's being, they're starting to look at that. And so we may get an update here in the coming weeks that might allow for some expansion on that. But that's not certain and not guaranteed, but they are committed to at least reviewing it and starting to work on that. As far as how to deal with those larger numbers, it may just need to be that you're going to be hosting a larger or a longer track meet. So it may have to be done in certain waves. I mean, you might have to have your varsity level kids that typically run in those first couple of heats run at certain times, getting their events in and spread them out as much as you can. And then you'd have your JV kids. It's going to make for a longer day, but in order to get everybody in competing and the like, then it's either that or you might have to go to 2 days or talk about doing opposite sites, but then your coaches are kind of put in the middle of that and finding enough officials to be able to handle 2 meets going on at the same time between 2 schools. So I don't think that there's a great answer, but I would say that just preparing for a longer meet might be your best bet at this point with where everything's at on the restrictions.
Thanks.
Hey, BJ, and Justin, maybe you can help out. There's a question about mask exemptions. So we were told, right, and some attorneys from one of the risk management groups came out because it's not in the formal governor's documents. But what we were told in our meetings and by email was if somebody had a legitimate request, they needed a physician's note and the school district had to approve that. Most of the risk management groups, and I think Steve Bridges is on this call, and maybe I haven't heard from Clear Risk directly, but I know Washington State Risk Management Group does not want to grant exemptions. Of course, there could be individual cases that school districts would have to work through risk management, but that's our understanding is it's a school district decision, but definitely work with your risk management group before you grant anything. Justin, is there anything else with that?
No, that's correct. I got a message sent directly to me about masks that attach to the football helmet. I think Andy and I have kind of gone through this a couple of times, and it's not extremely clear, but really the thing that we've told schools is that as long as the mask touches the nose and contacts the chin, then that appears to meet the mask guidelines for football and what would be required. So the masks that go inside of the face mask and attach to the inside of the face mask would work. Anything that goes around the cage itself as a guard or the splash guards that Shut put out, do not meet the mask requirement on their own, you'd still have to have some sort of a mask inside that physically touches the nose and the chin area that covers the nose and the mouth. So I think that's the biggest thing that people are getting caught up on, is that the splash guards, some people are under the belief the splash guard meets that criteria on its own. That's not the case. They'd still have to have a mask on underneath of that to meet that. Yeah, Carrie, I think the one thing that I've heard a couple of schools doing is they have masks on the sideline. So if they have that mask that attaches to the helmet, then they're putting those like they're just putting a box of surgical masks out, and the kids are just putting those on, or they unvelcro it. And I mean, I don't know how they're attaching that, because I haven't seen those masks specifically. If you haven't bought masks, I think another one to look at is that Cliff Keen one. That's for wrestlers specifically. I mean, it's a Cliff Keen website, but it could be done for football as well. For any sport, it attaches around the ears and drops down it's almost like a neck gaiter, but it at least attaches to the ears, similar to a regular mask. So that one's out there as well.
Anything else that anybody has any questions on, or any staff that wants to mention anything? If not, Cole, I'll pass it back to you and you can close us up.
Hey, Cole, I've got one real quick here, and maybe this is for Jeff Lowell or any of the WIAA staff on, seems like swim is still swimming in the deep end with no changes being made since March of 2020. Got to remember what year it is. March of 2020, the recommendations and those things haven't changed for pools, yet there's been no transmissions in pools. So we're running virtual meets, and I know that that's starting to become a little bit of an issue, at least up here in the Northwest Conference. So
there's guidance, Eric. I'll jump in right away and say there was guidance that actually came out in the fall of 2020, October, November, and so pools up there should have gotten that guidance. Guidance opens things up slightly, and really it's the aquatic facility having to take a look at their capacity. So for example, the pools in Kinko that we deal with are right around that 50 number, 50 total individuals that would be allowed to the pool. Any practice, and then that guidance from October, November really ends up setting some clear guidelines as to how many athletes can be in the pool for competitive practice at any one time. And that guideline is still remains steady at 24. So you can have 24 kids in a pool at a time. So it's limiting, but is it doable? Yes. I've talked to a lot of swim coaches around this area about how to run an in-person meet. And what it likely does is limit your roster that you would take to that meet. 20 kids each, and there's ways to have athletes end up doing the timing that's necessary, rather than bringing in a whole bunch of extra bodies to time behind the lanes. Bare bones officiating staff, and then there's some of the computer work that could be done outside of the meet itself. I can find that actual document and make sure that I get it to Dave, and Dave can actually send it out to everybody if that would be helpful. Then if anybody wants to talk about how we're structuring some things down here, I'm happy to talk to you about what we've put together.
Jeff and Eric, I also did get clarification. It's been asked a number of times about relays, and if they can be done, and relays and diving, a full swim meet can happen. We did get clarification on that from the governor's office. Obviously it takes some work. Kids are going to have to be separated as the relay's going on, and then stepping up to the block when it's their turn to swim. But they did confirm that relays can happen in a meet.
Thanks.
Anything else? Feel free to chime in. Just a last reminder then if you haven't already taken a look and registered for the conference, please do that. It's on your AMP account through WASA. And then also, if you have any suggestions or ideas for breakout sessions, please shoot me an email or text message or get a hold of me somehow, some way.
Hey, Cole, I had a question. Are your districts allowing transportation? I don't know that my district's going to open up and allow me to travel.
I'll speak on behalf of myself, and yes, we are. We have taken precautionary steps, but from the transportation side of things, there have been no restrictions in terms of how many bodies we can put on a bus. So that is a high risk area, but we can put 52 kids on a bus or 52 people on a bus if we need to, but we've also allowed parents to sign a waiver to transport their own child to away contests as well.
I meant ADs going to the conference. My district won't approve me to attend the conference due to.
Oh, you're kidding.
Well, right now I'm trying to push back. I think my priority is way down the list right now, but I'd like to sign up and get on the list and volunteer to do whatever, go play golf. I'm in. Just write my name down at the top of every list. I'll present. I'll do whatever you need me to do. I just got to make sure my district lets me get there.
Well, let's schedule a breakout session, Gary, and then they have to let you go.
Sold.
Cole, can I jump in here real quick? There's going to be, we're probably going to have 10 scholarships for new ADs that have never been to the conference before. Final Forms is going to give us 5 of them. And then Mascot Media, who's one of our sponsors, gives us scholarship money for ADs to attend the conference based on the contracts that they have in the state. So there's going to be a number of scholarships. Hopefully, maybe that can absorb some of the angst for whether the district can allow you to travel or if it's a financial issue. We're going to do everything we can to get people there. If they're not going to pay for your travel to get there, hopefully that's not going to be too invasive because we're in the middle of the state. So anyway, we're going to do everything we can to get people there and just encourage you to make it work. And, stay tuned. All those templates for those scholarships will be out sometime next week. You get a chance to apply for those. Those have never been to the conference. That's where we'll start. ADs, new ADs that have never been to the conference get a chance to come for free.
And unrelated to this, Steve, I just saw your chat in the box there. Helmet reconditioning is going to have to be a quick turnaround, right? Especially if you're going to either wait through summer activities potentially, or if you're going to send it out and try to get back for summer activities. Either way, it's going to be a difficult transition. Go ahead, Steve.
Yeah, it is. And I don't know how much you guys are aware of what's going on, but I got a message from Tony saying that that's his recommendation. The day that you're done, get those things sent in, depending on what you're going to do this summer. I've had a lot of responses from some schools who are saying they're not planning on doing anything they need gear for this summer simply because of the amount of contact. But it's whatever you're planning on doing this summer because you're going to want them back.
All right, folks, last call. Anybody?
Yeah, can I just jump in real quick a little bit on Tick's intro here, but a lot of things are going great for teams jumping in and kids competing. We have other things that aren't going so great here and around other schools in our area league where some kids have opted out, and mainly because they're depressed. And so one of the things we've talked about with other ADs, with my counselor, is trying to help those kids who have disconnected. For us, we've had great turnouts in a couple sports. Volleyball, my whole junior class, who's pretty decent, they're just in misery, and it's a group misery. I'm looking for any ideas. I mean, I've talked to my counselor, and there's some that they said, hey, this kid is not ready to take coaching, criticism, or setbacks right now. They should not be playing sports. They're not in that spot. Others, that kid needs to play. They need to really get back to healing and having fun again. And so at a certain point, I just want to open the conversation, and if there's something out there that's working for you, for those kids that are kind of still having a real rough time, I'd love to hear it. You know, anything to kind of, you know, just I know that it's a heck of a lot of fun watching the kids are playing, but I see the kids who've been 3-sport athletes or who've been really good players and really get some joy out of sports, sit on the sidelines not having fun. So anything would be awesome.
I think it's definitely a challenge for sure. Anybody relating to Ryan or have any suggestions?
No, for everybody, and Ryan, I think that, you know, what we offer, there's a lot of joy in what we do. And obviously for kids to feel that, to hear about it, but to feel it's a completely different, a different thing. So, you know, maybe one of the things we do is, and I know we already have a lot on our plates, but maybe just the little things that we promote, the joy of what we do, and we highlight certain individuals and their accomplishments, and you know, we just find positive stories that we can throw out to our community and kids, and they just start to see maybe the value of being together. And I think that's a big piece of it, is being together, the camaraderie, the being a part of something greater than themselves. You know, I think that we all, kids share something together when they go through the trenches and they experience that. There's just something powerful about being a part of something greater yourself. So, you know, maybe it's just promoting those little victories, sharing, you know, a thought for the day, start the school with you know, something positive and a positive story about, you know, if you have a football program that, hey, Joey's out for football for the first time, you know, made his first tackle last night. You know, I will share this with you. This really struck me the other day. And Ryan, I appreciate you bringing that up. You know, my daughter Katie's the volleyball coach and assistant athletic director at Whitworth. And every Monday she goes on and they do a little video and she talks about the week. Well, last week she put a player on instead of her. So she put a player on, and the player talked about what it felt like to be a part of the team. And it was powerful. It just kind of floored me. And I called my daughter and I said, you know, Katie, no offense, I enjoy listening to you, but that had so much power, and the message that sent to everybody that was listening, the value of what that experience means to her. So anyway, just some thoughts. You know, kids vocalizing how important it is, kids being a part of the message gets to be pretty powerful. Those small little victories that you can promote the joy of what we do.
One thing that we're finding here, and we're on our 3rd day of in-person learning in our school district for middle school and high school kids. But doing our grade checks, we're finding that our students of color are more than 50% of our kids who have more than one F. And that seems, I think a lot of it is connected also with low income and living in homes where there's not a lot of support for the online learning that they've just been going through. Most of those kids did manage to pass 5 out of 6 for the semester, but for this quarter right now, they're still really struggling. And it's really difficult for me to be having to tell kids that they're not eligible to compete now. And over half of the kids that I'm having to tell that to are kids of color. Just weighs really heavily on my heart right now. And I don't know what the answer for that is, but very difficult.
All right. We can stay here for as long as we need to, or if you got to jump, you can jump. Thank you guys for all your work. I'm right in the middle of it too. It's a grind, and I think this time of year is always that type of a grind. But as the sun comes out a little bit more for everybody, I think getting outside and getting some fresh air is going to help a ton in our efforts. And I guess I'm really looking forward to the remainder of the spring as well as conference time. And then also into what next year is going to look like. I've had a number of people ask me already about what does next year's schedules look like. And obviously we haven't even crossed that bridge yet, but we're all keeping our fingers crossed that everything looks as it normally does. So I hope you guys are all doing well. Have a great week. Reminder, WSSAAA Wednesday extension next Wednesday. And then on March 17th, we are excited to have Coach Nick Rolovich join us for our next WSSAAA Wednesday. Hope you guys are all well. Take care. Have a great week.